What's up, guys? Welcome back to Lights Out F1 Podcast. I'm Patrick, that's Claire, and we finally have Jakob back for this race. We had Austin yesterday, and there's a lot to talk about, but first, let me get you guys' general ratings on the weekend as a whole.
General rating, I'd give it probably like a 7 or an 8. It was kind of exciting. The main race was the sprint, not so much, but definitely like to see Lewis in the mix and Lando ending up with a P2 finish.
Kuba?
Uh, yeah, I give it a 6. I was not impressed by the sprint. Thought it was a kind of
But Lewis
it
got
was
P2
just
in the sprint, didn't he?
Yeah.
yeah, but still not impressed. It's like we all knew. We all know what's gonna happen if you maintain the same rules.
Mm-hmm.
So and the race was good. You know, showed pace, good stuff. So I was not overall the weekend was kind of a bore for me. So 6 out of 10.
Okay. Um, we'll skip over the individual sessions because it felt like this weekend kind of felt a lot more uniform with all the sessions. Like teams were where we expected them to be. There weren't any like super surprises. So we'll just jump
Mhm.
straight to the teams, and then we'll jump into the extra stuff after. Um, but before that, actually, upgrades that came into this weekend. McLaren brought upgrades to the floor edges and a bunch of other things. Haas brought their massive upgrade. Mercedes finally got their first upgrade from James Allison, which is a new floor. Um, we're not 100% sure how well that's working right now, but we'll know hopefully in Mexico since they'll have 3 sessions. Aston Martin brought upgrades, but they took them off of Fernando's car, and someone else brought a small upgrade. I can't remember who though. So upgrades for about half the grid. And the reason that teams are upgrading right now is because the 2024 regulations aren't changing at all in comparison to 2023. So all developments that happen right now are transferring into 2024. That all being said,
Wait,
what's up?
question for that. What I thought I saw that interview with Lando and Lewis with Max
Mhm.
and the upgrades for 2024.
Oh yeah,
So you're saying that they should be developing the 2023 car or no?
they can if they want to. So like some teams are taking that type of development path. That's why they're okay with doing it. Most times you wouldn't see teams doing this unless there wasn't a regulation change. And it's been confirmed. It was
Mm-hmm.
confirmed back in Hungary that there won't be any changes going into 2024, which is why a lot of teams are still upgrading toward this far into the year.
Okay. Okay.
But your guys' rating on Red Bull as a whole this weekend?
Pretty good. I mean, what can you say? I don't know. Like
Checo did better than
Max,
usual.
yeah, that's for sure. It did help that people got disqualified in the race.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I mean, Max didn't get pole in the sprint shootout. That was kind of a mess. So that's like a little hiccup, but he ended up winning. So it's like they couldn't do any wrong, and then
He
Max is
got pole
gonna
in the
win
sprint shootout. He didn't get pole
Yeah,
during actual qualifying.
he was
in the actual
lot,
qualifying.
yeah. Come on, dude, pay attention.
I'm trying. I'm trying. It was yesterday, 2 days ago. Oh,
Jakob, your thoughts on Red Bull's performance this weekend?
I mean, Max was like flawless per
Yep.
usual. I guess if we take qualifying out of it, flawless per usual. Aside from the fact that he was yelling about his brakes, but
Yep.
yeah. What
and
was
I
up
feel
with his
like
brakes?
maybe
His
a couple.
so normally
Go
Red
ahead.
Bull has a ton of anti-dive into their car, which allows them to run their car a lot lower, and he's allowed to have a much later braking zone. But in order to accommodate for how bumpy the track was, they raised the car, and the brakes didn't work as well, so he had to do some serious brake management throughout the race.
Yeah, so I feel like a couple laps and maybe Lewis would have got him, but or like if they had pitted him a little earlier,
Mm.
he might have had less of a gap to catch up. But I mean, overall, flawless race from Max, Checo. Well, can't really nothing great, nothing terrible.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it might be over for him in terms of his Red Bull career. I don't see how, like, at the rate at which Mercedes and McLaren are getting towards Red Bull. I don't see how, if Mercedes and McLaren are to get in that title fight, I don't see how they keep Checo.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, I'd say it's probably one of Red Bull's not great weekends. The only one that's probably worse than it was probably Singapore. Just
Just,
because,
that's just crazy to say.
yeah, it's the only race that they didn't win. So, but yeah, I mean, Max not getting pole, which is what we expect normally, and then having problems with his car during the race. Uh, I mean, just like their car wasn't very well suited to the track, so um, I think one of the things that made this kind of funny was actually that in the post race interview, they asked Lewis about, is Mercedes like getting close to that point of being up to Red Bull? And Lewis and Max just both stared at each other. Because the question before that, Lewis was like, "Yeah, I wish I had a GoPro so I could like show you guys, but like Max was driving flawlessly today, and that's while managing a brake issue. So I can't imagine what their 2024 car is gonna look like." Which is high praise coming from Lewis. It's nice to see those two getting along in the post race interview. So, but yeah, definitely not one of Red Bull's better weekends. Um, P2 in the constructors right now, Mercedes. How do you
Yep.
guys feel about their weekend?
I feel like they had a shot. George Russell lacked pace comparatively to Lewis. It felt like the whole weekend.
Yeah, both had their
Uh,
car higher.
yeah, that ended up not getting him DQ'd. So
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah, I mean, I think Max even came out and said that the track needs to be resurfaced for next year.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but yeah, I mean, Mercedes was there. They were fighting. Like Lewis had a shot. I mean, I don't know. It was good. It was a good weekend for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like, I mean, honestly, I don't. If I'm being really honest with you, I don't care about the disqualification,
Yeah.
and I really don't care about like whether he gets P2 in the championship or not. It makes no difference.
That's the
Like,
sound of a man who's given up on it.
it like makes no difference because like ultimately, I don't really care if he wins, gets P2 or not, because I want to see him compete for championships.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, overall, like, if leaving aside the disqualification, because that's a lot of points gone for Mercedes and points gained for Ferrari.
Yep.
It was a
Mm-hmm.
good it was a good weekend overall in terms of, at least on Lewis's side of the garage, in terms of pace, and uh the bounce back from Qatar was a good show, like, of like, okay, well, Qatar's like the once in a lifetime thing where I'll crash into my teammate, or once in 5 year thing where I'll crash into my
Yeah,
teammate.
I was like, I feel like he's done that before.
Oh, it
Yeah,
was a
like,
spectacular collision the last time it happened.
so yeah, so like he hasn't. It was like ages ago with Rosberg of all people.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, overall, like, I think it was a good weekend. If I think Mercedes can like look at that floor upgrade and say, yeah, it worked.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, we kind of like messed up on setup with the plank, but I mean, I think Brazil will look good. Mexico, even when Mercedes were dominating, Red Bull was always good around there. So now, like, I don't imagine they'll compete for wins. But last year at Brazil, Mercedes looked good. This year, hopefully, they'll look good.
Yep.
It's
Might
not
see the
like the
Russell hustle
McLaren.
again.
The
Yeah,
Russell, I don't anticipate Russell doing anything. I think Lewis just looks different. Like, after Qatar, he, like, this weekend, he looked like he looked happy with the car in general. So,
Yep.
um, yeah, overall, McLaren aren't going to do well in Mexico, and, well, maybe Mexico, but in Brazil, it's going to be kind of a stinker for them because, like, they're terrible in slow corners.
Mm.
So, uh, we'll see. I think overall a good weekend for Mercedes.
Yeah. I think the upgrade went really well. It's nice to see somebody like a new face for the engineering team. Obviously, you guys have James Allison back now, so is that his name?
Yes.
Okay. As you guys have him back, so and clearly his first upgrade that he brought to the car. They said it wasn't.
Disrespecting James Allison, the man who cooked Adrian Newey for fucking six. Sorry, language.
No,
The
you're
man
good.
who cooked, the man who cooked Adrian Newey for 6 years. Don't disrespect the man, bro.
I didn't. They said
Is
that
that his name? Yeah, you did.
Oh, I didn't think it was disrespect. I just genuinely didn't know the name. But yeah, it's they said it wasn't supposed to be an upgrade. It was supposed to be just a change in direction, and so it kind of came off as an upgrade. Um, but yeah, like you said, aside from the disqualification, there's a clear showing of pace from Lewis, and even George had a slightly off weekend. On a slightly off weekend, he still pulled out what would have been P6 or P7. Now he's P5, so
Mhm.
not a terrible result for the team. They only lost 5 points out to Ferrari, and I think it's a 22-point gap now. So still pretty close there, but good weekend. I don't think they're bringing any more updates for the rest of the season. But excited to see what their 2024 car has in store for
Yeah,
us. Onto Ferrari.
Ferrari.
Good show,
Ooh.
man.
We're saying, oh yeah, I mean, their strategy, they did it again. Okay. The
To be
man
fair,
on
the one
pole
stop
has
didn't
to,
seem like it was an awful thing for a
but
while.
like they knew that the tire deg was bad. Like you put on new tires, you know that it's
Mhm.
gonna help you.
Yeah.
You just know that there.
I mean, I'm like Ferrari, like always, like it's always eat up their tires. Like
Yeah.
they don't really, they don't really have like anything like that's good. They don't treat their tires well. So
No.
like, well, one side of the garage got it right to an extent,
Yeah.
and the other side didn't. And it's like, how do you not
Yeah.
work together on that?
Mhm.
So it
Charles
was
is just
overall, yeah,
looking so sad right now.
it was overall kind of a, at least in the case of Mercedes, it's like, yes, they make like a strategy blunder or like a setup thing mess up like once a year.
Yeah.
With Ferrari, it's like, well, this race weekend, oh no, next race weekend, definitely they're gonna mess it up. It's like every season, every race weekend, you don't know if they're gonna get it right. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're even if they get a fast car, they're miles off competing for
Yeah.
anything.
I don't know how much you guys watch the Tech Talks, but before the race, the Sam Collins and Bernie, I think her name is Bernie Collins, went over like the actual pace of the cars and dismissing tire degradation. The Ferrari should be the second fastest car. It's just it can't keep its tires for any amount of time compared to McLaren and Mercedes. And so they're
So
expecting a 2 or a 3 stop from Ferrari for this race.
so maybe Ferrari should watch the tech talks.
Well, I
Maybe
think
yeah.
both the drivers and the engineers and Fred are all like, we have a fast car. We just need to figure out what we're going to do about the tire degradation. So, also, Charles forgot it was his 100th race weekend. And
Oh yeah,
he's
that
like,
was
I forgot it was my 100th race weekend, but I did bring a cool helmet. So,
yeah, it has nothing to do with,
no.
Ferrari or anything, but it did say like Papa on the
Yeah.
back and Jules.
Yeah.
So
On to McLaren.
poor Oscar. He had a rough weekend. No points, I believe,
Yeah. Not at
because he
all.
was out of the. He was P10 in the sprint, and then with his collision with SD Bestie, he had to retire. That's so sad. 'Cause
Yeah.
he's been on such a high, and like
That's his third retirement
he
of the
was
season.
he was driving well. I mean, it's he'll bounce back.
Yeah.
But yeah,
For reference, Esteban has now retired 6 times this year.
I know it's so sad. Alpine is just like floating in nowhere
Mm.
in the constructors standings. But yeah, Lando perfect, almost perfect weekend. I mean, he pushed as hard as he could. Ended up with the P2 for points in the main race, and then in the sprint P4. So like he was up there in the fight the whole time. It was great,
Yeah. And he's moved ahead of
great
Charles, the
weekend.
drivers.
Yes, yes. That's a big move considering where they started the season. I think he's scored the second most amount of points since summer break compared to like Max. Obviously, he scored the most amount of points.
Yeah. Jakob?
McLaren, yeah, great week. I guess great weekend. I don't know. Well, Oscar.
I don't know, but I think both you guys were pretty talking down of on McLaren pretty early in the
Oh
season.
yeah, hundred
Even
percent.
up to the even before the summer break, I feel like you
You know
guys were
what?
still shitting
You
on
know
it.
what? You
So
know what? If McLaren start next season off at the current pace that they're showing, good on you, because every season this happens all the time where they have a
yeah,
strong end of the season, and then they start off like shit again. So I hope they don't. It'll be fun to see them compete, but
Yeah.
I'm not got my hopes up. I mean, yeah, it's a good weekend for Lando, overall P2, I guess.
yeah,
On the post race result. So like, I mean, they showed, like, I mean, they expected the track to be pretty not great for them, and it still converted. So I
yeah.
don't know.
I would like to ask you, Jakob, if you agree with Max that Lando and Oscar are the best pairing on the grid right now.
No,
No, who's the best pairing then?
on raw pace,
On anything,
Hamilton.
like just who? No, the best pairing, like two people in a team.
I mean, like it just
Seems
like
like a
you
very
can't like
biased question for the two of you.
it's not even I mean,
I was just asking if he
does
agrees with Max on something.
does it? I never agree with Max on anything aside from the fact that sprint races are kind of dumb. But like,
hmm
are we talking like social media they're funny, on track they're good, off track they're good, or are we
The
just
whole
talking
shebang.
on track?
The whole thing, like
Uh,
they have the best package. The team has the best two drivers right now for the team.
no,
Or,
I think um, Bottas and Joe are the best driver pairing. Just because like they pulled on.
That came
I
out
think
of left field.
I think Oscar. I haven't watched a ton of their like social media stuff, but like Oscar doesn't seem like he enjoys the social media stuff as much as like Daniel
dude,
used to.
did you watch the? You probably didn't, but they're trying to finish the lyrics or something. And
Oh, I saw
Oscar
like a
was
clip.
just like, he kept looking over at Lando like, oh, I don't know. He had the card eyes going. I think they're cute
Yeah, just
with their stuff. But what is Botas and Joe doing that's like that?
bro. Did you see their fits this weekend, dude?
Okay, that's true.
They
I
had
was
some
like
good cowboy
Also,
banger. I
outfits
I'm
was
just
going.
saying for those of you who don't know, Joe is an actual model, and F1 is doing him dirty. And I'm so glad he brings up with his own outfit, like rolls up with his own outfits.
Yeah, that's true.
Uh,
But they're the best pairing in your opinion? That's crazy. That is just that's a wild Jakob opinion. Gotta say, was not expecting that from
I
you.
just like I just like Valkyrie a lot with his mustache and his mullet.
yeah. Honestly, they do make an
And
they do make an interesting pair as like off the grid people on the grid. Not sure.
hmm,
I think probably I like from the most unbiased point of view possible, it's McLaren. I think just as their social media team is fantastic. First off, uh, they signed Bianca Bustamante to their team officially from the F1 Academy. Um,
hmm,
and she is already on top of her media duties for sure.
yeah,
And then Lando and Oscar. I mean, Oscar might actually be a clone. And then if you look at the reserve drivers at Alex Paulo, another
hmm,
clone. And so I'm pretty sure Zach has a cloning facility somewhere in Woking. But yeah, no, they have. And as far as driver talent goes, Lando is easily the third or fourth most talented driver on the grid, depending on who you ask. Oscar is 100% a future world champion, depending on McLaren. So I think they have the best driver pairing off and on the grid.
All right, so we got one agree with Max and one very disagree from Jakob. Okay, we can continue. Sorry, that
Yeah,
was
no, you're
random.
good. McLaren's weekend overall, fantastic. Sucks for Oscar, but Lando. Actually, I take that back. I'd give them probably like a 60% weekend.
Yeah,
Because
well,
Lando was
because one
falling
driver didn't
off.
score.
Actually, it's because Lando was falling off towards the end of the race, and I think had there been two or three more laps with no disqualifications, Lewis would have overtaken Max, and Carlos probably could have overtaken Lando. I think at the end of the race, Carlos was going 6 or 7 tenths a lap faster than Lando. So, uh, spooky times
But
for them.
he was still like 4 seconds by the end of the race behind him.
I'm not 100% sure what the gap was, but he was definitely on top of it. They're gonna look better in Mexico. Save for the straight. I think the straight they might struggle, and that is a very long straight. But outside of that, I think McLaren will do fine there. But this weekend, not their best. I'd say their best weekend of the year, 100% goes to uh, Silverstone.
Guitar. Oh,
I'd give it to Silverstone. Their Silverstone race was phenomenal. That was also
dude,
just because
but
it was their introduction to their new upgrade, but
uh,
and their car
have you
livery.
seen the
It
meme?
grew on me.
Have you seen the memes though? Like the memes of like Lando Norris aged 80 years, and it's like Lando Norris still waiting for to
Oh
get his
yes,
team to get a race.
13 teammates, 80
Oh,
years later, he still hasn't won his first race.
dude, Lando Norris could turn into Fernando Alonso. I'm telling you.
That, that would be
True.
horrible. Speaking of Fernando Alonso, Aston Martin officially moved down to fifth in the constructors. You guys thoughts on the weekend?
Horrible. Just they didn't know what they were doing with the upgrade. It made them slower.
Actually,
Lance
didn't make them slower.
finally it didn't, but
No,
it looked like it did.
no.
I
Fernando
mean,
was
Lance,
doing wonderful. Up until
but
Lance.
Fernando was like in the old.
Yeah,
Fernando was using the
Wait,
old.
I thought they reverted back to their old car though.
no. Fernando was in
For
the old spec. Lance was in the new one.
yeah, so the
I
new
can
one
only
made them
imagine what.
slower.
No, it made Lance slow. That's not changing much. I think they probably should have given the upgrade to Fernando. Because trying to get data collection off of Lance is a moot point.
Okay. I just like yeah, that's confusing though, what you're saying though, because I'm saying that the upgrade made them slower, but
It
you're
did not.
saying it's only just because it's Lance.
Yes.
Then
Okay,
why did Fernando
imagine putting
not
it okay, imagine
use
Williams,
it?
right? If they had Latifi still and they have current Alex Albon.
I mean,
Imagine
they
But you
did
giving
could
the
keep.
just use
upgrade
Logan. You could just use Logan as the
imagine well
example.
no, because they actually give Alex the upgrade on first. Uh
Yeah.
Imagine Latifi getting an upgrade before Alex. Do you really expect Latifi to go that much faster?
No.
Okay, but if you
Okay.
give it to Alex,
Okay, but Fernando had the upgrade.
he did not.
But
Lance
he
had
did. He
no.
did have it.
He had the upgrade, and then they
He
went
had
back in
it.
the old car.
Yes.
He
So
had
he
it
was
for
on the old
qualifying
car.
and the sprint
Yeah, yeah, but there's a reason he went back to the old car, right?
because it
They
was
both had the
slower.
upgrade.
He had floor damage.
No, he was just slower.
Up in the air.
Okay, okay.
Pretty sure floor damage from the race. That's why, like, he thought he had rear suspension failure. But anyways, we'll move on.
Anywho, weekend as a whole for Aston Martin did not go well.
I mean, Lance got points because of the disqualification. I think
Oh, did he?
got extra points. I think he got P7 with the disqualifications. So he was on track for 2 points, P9. Because like without that, like Fernando like DNF'd, Oscar DNF'd, Esteban DNF'd. So like if he wasn't in the points, that would have been like he was throwing himself at his trainer or something.
Yeah. Um.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aston Martin's weekend was not it.
Not it, but they did get 6 points.
Yes, to the good. Um. Alpine. I feel like there's not much to talk about with them, like ever.
Why is there not much to talk about? I mean, Pierre Gasly got P7 in the sprint, and then
in the race.
P6 in the race.
You know what we can talk about without?
We can talk about Rory. We can talk about all
Rory
the
brought the Ryder
famous.
Cup. Rory bought the Ryder Cup and said that, and I think someone asked him. I think Brundle asked him why he brought the Ryder Cup, and Brundle, and he was like, "Oh, I just want to remind the Americans what it looked like because it's not going to get it back for a while." I was
No.
like, "Banger, bro!"
Oh, also, Anthony Joshua talked
Mhm.
to Pierre Gasly before the race over the radio, and they like broadcast it.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah, he said some cringe shit.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did, but still.
He did.
I don't understand. I guess we can talk about this. I
He
don't
should have said that
understand.
to Esteban, though.
No.
No.
No. Honestly speaking, Esteban, I don't know who has more points between the two of them, but I feel like Esteban has been the worst driver, but like this entire
He
year.
needed the help.
Yeah,
The
he needs a
the
lot of help in a lot of aspects, but I don't think a pep talk at the start of the race is what he needs. Um,
why did Gasly need it?
Bro, because Gasly's trash.
I don't know, honestly. This is what I want to
Okay,
talk about, though. I don't understand why so many actors and big players and whatnot are investing in Alpine of all teams when you can invest elsewhere.
Because
because
no
Like
other
you're
team is
investing
probably.
into sixth place. I don't. It doesn't make sense.
it's a media stunt.
Yeah, also, it's probably
It's
that like
losing the money is what it's doing.
no, it's
Yeah.
also probably that no one else like is open to investment, right? Because Mercedes is three share owned
Hmm.
or owned three ways. Nobody wants to give up ownership there.
Yep.
Red Bull is owned by like Red Bull, so they're not going to give up investment.
Yep.
Alfa Romeo is now Audi in a bit.
Yep.
Haas probably need it, but probably
Yes.
just don't take it. Williams
Could take it.
could take it, but like you're investing again in lost or second loss or whatever. What were they in right now? Seventh,
Seventh.
seventh. Okay, so AlphaTauri not open. Who's in last place? Alfa Romeo.
Alpha Tauri.
Oh, okay, AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo. So like it's probably like Alpine are the only ones probably open to investment in that sense.
It's just
So,
not worth it, honestly. Like you okay,
Ah,
the timing of it doesn't make sense
I mean, they're
because
also making money. They're also making a profit because of
just yeah, just because it's F1. So
AlphaTauri.
like they're not actually
Yeah,
losing money, but like it's just the timing of it's awful because of like you have a team that doesn't have an actual team principal, has probably one of the worst aerodynamicists on the grid, one of the worst tech engineers on the grid. You lost everybody at the top of command, so you've got people who don't actually have as much experience running a team, running the team. It just doesn't make sense. But it also could be, as you say, and there's just not enough teams to invest in that they would actually want to. Um, money is money. Um,
that's true.
yeah. On to Williams. What the heck is a kilometer?
That's not what the saying is. Yeah, no, I mean, Logan got his first point in
Yes,
F1. His first point, 1 point
still point.
that he got from the disqualification of two of the
Points
drivers.
of
They didn't
points.
check Logan's car.
So
Kidding,
they
I don't
always
know.
pick out of the top 10 cars and randomize which one of them to check.
Yeah, I know.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
That, that's
Williams.
that's that's 2 weekends in a row now that they've decided to pick on Lewis Hamilton. So
Oh my gosh.
that's
Did
two
he
weekends
did
in
he
a row.
ever get did he ever talk to the FIA more
He
about
did,
his
yeah, he did.
they did not find him more? What happened?
They could imagine if they had fined him more, I would have broken things. If they'd given him a time penalty, I would have broken things in my room. My you see that Titleist driver over there? That would have
uh-huh.
gotten snapped immediately. Oh wait, I'll show you the Titleist driver.
Did
Okay.
you get the Red Bull one? Just kidding.
Dude,
Red
that
Bull's a
Red Bull one,
tailor-made.
Yes,
that
that's
Red
the
Bull
name drop.
TaylorMade driver, it's pretty good looking. I do have to admit, the driver and the putter are pretty good looking.
Yeah,
But like, if I were to buy it, I'd just buy it so I can like show up at Jeremy's place and then just snap it.
yeah.
It'll probably
Oh,
help with.
yeah. At the end of the season, Jako's going to be wearing a Red Bull shirt and saying that Max is better than Lewis.
And then I'll burn the T-shirt.
That's okay.
Bro, look at this.
I just need the footage.
Yeah. So if they had find it, this Titleist driver would have been.
Mm.
But
But
like,
yeah,
anyways,
as you
proceed.
say, Williams scored points because two people were disqualified. They're not bringing upgrades for us this season, so whatever happens in races happens. I think Alex was 17 seconds behind Yuki at the end of the race, so we
Mm,
weren't getting anywhere close to the points. But also
so
Logan,
good points, needed points.
yeah, Logan was much more on the pace this weekend than usual. I think he ended off like 4 or 5 seconds off of Alex. So he's getting there
Mhm.
in comparison to his teammate. Um, Also, update on the power units. There are four drivers left who have still a free power unit change without suffering penalties for it. Alex and Logan being amongst them.
Okay.
Yes.
It's
So
surprising that Logan has his. Well, I guess Probably because he hasn't raced that much because
I think he
he
actually
wrecks.
no. There's
Lots
two
of
Mercedes
dins.
drivers. There's two Mercedes customer drivers who have one left. Alex being one of them. I think Logan has used his. He used his second one when he crashed in
That's what I'm
Zandvoort.
saying.
Zandvoort.
That's what I'm saying.
But yeah. So and then I
Who
think
are the other ones?
I don't know. I want to say one of them's a Red Bull customer if it's not one of the Red Bull drivers.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't. There's four of them total. They went over it before the race,
So,
but
so there will be penalties if people change.
yeah, 100%. I mean, we were
I
expecting that
mean,
anyways, but I guess moving on past that, who's eighth? Alfa Romeo. Not much to talk about. I mean, they didn't score points in the race or the sprint. They're now 10 points behind Williams, and they may or may not get caught by the other two teams. So
Probably not, but maybe.
they're 4 points ahead of Haas and 6 points ahead of AlphaTauri. And that tells you how close the bottom of the table is.
Yeah.
Um, moving on, Haas. I mean, how do you guys feel about their massive upgrade package that makes them look more like a Red Bull?
They didn't score any points, right? So I don't know. It's hard to say. With with no like one free practice session, it's
Yeah,
really this whole thing was very difficult to see what the upgrades will actually look like.
yeah,
Their race pace obviously then didn't
yeah,
it didn't pan out very well for them. So
yeah. It's hard to understand how good or bad the upgrades were on such a bumpy track. So
hmm
I think in Mexico, every team that brought an upgrade will understand more about, what exactly the upgrade does and how it advances and sets back their car. So yeah, could be your thoughts on Haas.
didn't really work, did it?
No,
Just
not
sort of
really.
like,
no,
just sort of like, I think, they're looking forward to the 2024 car, baby.
and the 2025 if that doesn't work out.
Hey, man, Haas are a Ferrari customer team. You gotta learn from the best. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, yep,
um,
yep.
how
So
do you
I
guys
don't know.
feel
Nothing,
about not hearing Gunter Steiner very much this year? Because I feel like we're used to hearing so much about him.
Hmm,
bro. I'm
that is interesting.
sick of listening to Christian Horner. Get someone else on there.
Yeah, that's true. I
Honestly,
agree with that. Retweet.
if they did the entire season with James Vowles, I'd be fine with it because like he has such a nice voice to listen to. First of all, it's so melodic and
And he also
nice. And
explains
second,
stuff really nicely. Like he makes it
yeah,
really
he
easy for you to
Christian.
understand.
Well, Christian's just like talking a lot of shit, and
Yeah.
then you just have to listen to how like, oh yeah, Max is like got it under control. Like nobody cares, bro. Move on. So I
Yeah,
James Vowles. And if they let Gunter swear on stream, I'd be down with that.
yeah. I saw that Roman Grosjean was commentating on some second third party platform, and he was wearing a Günther Steiner shirt. So I thought that was funny.
Nice.
Uh, yeah,
Last team to talk about, AlphaTauri.
they're gonna make a comeback. I think
Yeah, I mean they brought an upgrade. I want to say in Japan.
if they would have put Liam in Danny's seat, they definitely would not end up 10th. I don't know. I love Daniel Ricciardo, but I feel like he may not be making the recovery that he wants. I don't know. It was not
I mean, but
impressive this weekend.
didn't he also have like damage from like something?
Not a clue.
Pretty sure. Pretty sure he said he had that. I think he like had an incident with someone at the first lap, and it was just like sort of like
Okay.
a damage limitation race. I mean, like, listen. I mean, like, if we're gonna like remain high on Daniel Ricciardo, he drove 2 races, broke his wrist. So like, I don't know. Give him till the end of the season, and if by the end of the season he still isn't showing any signs of,
Yeah,
um,
fair.
so
I'll do that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
then
it's just a
you
hard
know,
benchmark just because Liam raced with Yuki for 4 races and beat him all 4 races.
hmm
And Danny's raced with Yuki for 3 races and lost all 3 races.
Yeah, well, Yuki got 5 points this weekend, right?
Yeah.
That's like doubling the whole team tally. So it's like it's really hit or miss with
Yeah.
this.
But I think the upgrade they brought in Japan is working. I think they're definitely starting to understand it more, and Yuki has been significantly faster in the past 3 weekends. So excited to see if they can overtake Haas and possibly Alfa Romeo. Um, if they do, it'll probably be in Brazil. I don't think there's going to be much movement on the table in Mexico just because it is a very streamlined, like most of your teams finish in regular positions type of track. I think Brazil throws up the best racing of the year.
Okay.
Jakob?
The 49ers fumbled a football.
Dude.
They're playing Kirk Cousins!
Uh-huh.
It
Yeah.
cannot be that hard. Never mind it. It's a replay. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, we went over the upgrades. For people who don't understand the floor plank real quick, if you're looking for the easy version tech talk, the floor plank, it's not exactly the wooden part that they measure. They have titanium bits that protect it from lighting, and those titanium bits grind out very slowly. Charles, the two floor bits at the rear were burnt out by 1/10 of a millimeter more than they're supposed to be, and Lewis was burned out by, I want to say, 1/3 of uh, the minimum, which in terms of those is a lot because they're only 10 millimeters thick. So you're only allowed to burn off, I want to say 1 plus or minus point 0 or 0.2 millimeters, and they burned off way more than that. So, yeah, it just prevents the floor from taking damage. And people who are like, why would they care if the floor takes damage? If the floor bottoms out, meaning it hits the ground too hard, they lose all downforce and they go spinning into a wall. Think of Charles Leclerc in Miami this year when he was pushing, hit the curb, and spins into the wall.
Mhm.
That's what happens when you don't have the floor flank there.
Okay, so pretty important. Yeah.
It's not my issue. Isn't with the fact that they got disqualified.
Mhm.
It is what it is. Like, fine, they were in breach. It's like
Yeah,
you tested 4 cars.
yeah, I do it every weekend.
Four. You tested 4 cars. Max and Lando passed. Charles and Lewis failed.
Yeah,
50% of those cars, 50% failed. You then should have tested the entire grid.
or at
Joe
least
Bauer,
the rest of the
or
top 10.
at least the rest of the top 10,
Yeah,
because it's
But then
like
if you do the rest of the top 10, then that makes people that weren't in the top 10 get into the top 10 who shouldn't be if they have this. You should test the whole grid.
whatever you
it's
like.
either you
First of
test
all,
the
it's just
entire grid, or like if it was a weekend where you didn't have a race the following weekend, I could understand that. But just because like this is something that took them 4 hours to do with just 4 cars, you
yeah,
would
and like
literally be
they
taking the entire week and you would just essentially be skipping the next weekend.
and yeah that and then that like yeah. So I mean, as a fair concept, you test the entire grid,
Or
and
you keep
especially
it the same and
or
just test four
or you
cars.
no or like you like all this money that you're making off like F1, you go and hire more people because like Joe Bauer is one man, and he's
Mhm.
probably got like 3 or 4 people with him. So like like we're all about like precision and we're the pinnacle of motorsport and blah blah blah. But like we test 4 out of 20 cars.
Yes.
You go like in any other sport, if like you they would test the entire team is like all the teams are tested for technical stuff. So you go and test the entire grid. You don't just test 4 cars, 2 of them fail, you say, oh well, we're gonna disqualify those two. So
It's the rules they've
it,
had forever, and I think
They
yeah,
might
it's
need
why
to, they might need to change them.
they can't just change the
it,
rules for just because two people
or
messed
you
up.
change
No,
it
just
for
going forward.
a
No,
sprint
you leave
weekend.
it.
You can't just say you give them one practice session to get
Mhm.
their setup right, and then you go to qualifying, sprint shootout, sprint race,
Mhm.
race. You give them you tweak the rules for the sprint. Give them more time. Give them an extended time before they go into Park Ferme. Like
Yeah, but
This
then
no
that downplays the like necessity for teams to actually like take into account those things. It's known that both Lando and Red Bull intentionally ran their cars much higher than they wanted them to just to avoid this. And Mercedes notoriously want to run their car lower because their car runs well lower. So the wild part about this is that the floor height has already been increased, and that was because of Mercedes. And now Mercedes are the ones getting caught out for having their floor too low.
I think it's just like a
Yeah.
one. It's just a one-off weekend. I think the track is like incredibly bumpy, and then you
Yep.
just have like
It
so
just
much
is
like
it is what it is. Um
Mhm.
but I think the reason that for me it's like a little bit difficult to understand your point of view is just because that takes the blame off the driver and the team.
you
And I
can't blame the
think the
driver.
FIA does a good job at like, they're like it is the job of the drivers and the teams, and they accepted this when they decided to drive to make sure that regardless of the type of weekend or track we were at, that they would be able to abide by this. Clearly two teams did it and clearly two teams didn't. So
Yeah, but my art okay, like tweaking the rules is not fine. Okay, I get that you decide tweaking the rules isn't the greatest choice, but my argument is that by not like by only letting testing disqualifying two cars,
mhm.
that's 50% of the group that you tested.
Yeah.
You would find it very I would find it very hard to believe that there are cars that the rest of the grid did not like a bunch of cars would have failed that test.
Yeah, there's no
So
doubt
it's
about
like
that.
yeah, but it's like based off of like you have to be able to expand your test because like even Brundle agrees like it's like you can't just like pick four cars disqualify two and
Well,
then
specifically
like
the
let the
fastest cars.
that's fine, but like
Yeah.
then go test the top 10 because assumably the top 10 are the fastest cars on race
Well,
day.
they randomly pick out of the top 10.
Yeah, which is kind of like it's just an absurd notion that like we're gonna not test the top 10 if like in certain situations we're just gonna test four cars. We're test four cars every weekend, and in
Yep.
certain situations, if they breach the rules, we're gonna disqualify. I guarantee you, Joe Bauer is like knows that at least half of the top 10 like would be disqualified if he had gone and tested those cars. But because FIA rules say that no, we're not going to test that we're not going to test the rest of the 10. Oh, blah, blah, blah. So like like go and figure it out, man. Like this
I
notion
think it's
that
pretty figured out. And I think the teams also took full
the
responsibility
FIA,
for it. So
in my opinion, the FIA had nothing figured out. They have zero figured out. The only thing they have figured out is how to pick on certain drivers, how to make money off of F1, and
well,
that's
of
pretty
course, you're
much
gonna
it.
start blaming this on the fact that it's Lewis Hamilton. That's just you. But
A
I mean,
hundred percent.
if Mercedes and
No,
Lewis Hamilton both already admitted to it, and it's just like let's move on, it is what it
oh
is,
no,
then I
I'm
think you
moving
can.
on with. I'm moving. Oh, if
Oh
I
no,
can't
you're
get
not.
over, if I can't get over, if I can't get over something that's 2 years ago, you're damn well sure I'm not going to get over something that was a day ago. So I don't care
Hey,
about the disqualification. It's just like it
no,
just
I think you
like
do. I'm gonna be real legit,
the
Chief. It seems like you do.
the practicality of it is just lost on me. There's no practical reason to go hire more people and test the top 10. And the fact that it took 4 hours means you can't appeal. Like you can't go and make an
No, they did
appeal
appeal.
saying no. They did appeal. Mercedes and Ferrari did not appeal. They were just summoned to the stewards and they blah
Oh
blah
yeah, and they
blah.
accepted it
Yeah, but like
because they
imagine if
knew it
someone
was true.
that's fine, but imagine if they had decided to appeal. You can't even appeal because the FIA takes so damn long to friggin' test
Well, so
cars. Go hire them.
the way that the appeal works is after the decision's handed down, they have 32 hours to appeal. But they just took it on the chin, as Toto says, and decided to move forward. So there's no point in appealing it.
Yeah, but my point being that it's kind of ridiculous overall. Ooh, sack.
Okay, teach their own.
Okay.
Basically, I don't think the FIA should be governing Formula One. I think they should I think FOM and like Liberty should go and be like, you're done. Let's go find someone else. That's my opinion.
You'd be
I think
hard
the
pressed to
FIA is
find any other organization that can govern a motorsport.
I think they have enough money. They can go and hire like a bunch of people. Frankly, hire me. Maximum penalties for Max Verstappen every race.
You're not making your case.
You're not making a good
But like
case
they
here.
just like the FIA is just incompetent in my opinion. I think it's like there's like levels of incompetence and they're like in the middle right now.
Like right
Abu
now they're
Dhabi
doing a
was
lot
the
better.
they're not doing anything better. They
Compared to
just
Abu
like
Dhabi?
compared to Abu Dhabi, like that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Abu Dhabi was a peak of their incompetence,
Yeah.
and then finding Red Bull for the budget cap and not taking points away from them for breaking the budget cap was like just like a new peak. And now they're like if they were in space when they decided not to find Red Bull, they're at Everest right now in terms of like the heights of incompetence.
I'd
It's
say they're
just
pretty
like
competent right now. I just think
they're
we're a
not.
little butthurt about everything going on, but that's
They're
okay.
not. They're ridiculous. I guarantee you, Claire has the same reaction if Lando had got disqualified. If like Lando had won that race and like they
Oh,
disqualified
I'd be
Lando,
so mad. I'd
yeah.
be
You
so
So
would,
mad.
like,
but the
if
realistic,
Albon, no, but if Albon had won that race, you would be mad pressed right
I
now.
have
Let's
zero
be
expectations, so the fact that we got any points at all, I'm happy with.
yeah, like incompetence at a higher level. Sack him. Yes.
They only do it to the fast teams, and unfortunately Williams is not fast, so we're relying on people to get disqualified.
Oh my gosh.
Well, they kind of are relying on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
openly admitted. That's fine. We scored points.
pretty.
This is one of the only weekends
Dude.
you'll ever hear that Logan
You know what I'm
Sargent
saying?
scored
You know
more
what I'm
points than
saying?
Lewis Hamilton.
You know what I'm saying? Fire Alex, fire George Russell, and give me Alex Albon.
You
I'll
can't
take
have
that. I want him.
But yeah, so next week we have Mexico. Thankfully it's a normal weekend, so hopefully we'll be able to get a bit better understanding of, well, we as viewers can see if teams are actually faster with their new updates. And yeah, we'll get a normal weekend, which is sounds really weird given the fact that we just had two sprints back to back. So,
Yeah.
and then after that we're in Brazil, so
So who do we think is going to be good next week? I'm not trying to do my fantasy league right now at all.
Red Bull.
anybody with like a lot of straight line speed or anybody who's good in medium speed corners. So I think Aston Martin might have a pretty strong weekend.
Dude, Max is gonna get booed his butt off in
Oh yeah,
Mexico.
100%. Red Bull's gonna do good. Aston Martin might do pretty well. Mercedes is gonna do phenomenal. McLaren might struggle a little bit. Let's see. Ferrari. Actually, Ferrari are gonna do phenomenal next weekend. Low tire deg in Mexico. So this
Guys,
is good for them.
I thought, wait, Ferrari's going to do well. I forgot to take Liam Lawson off my team. I
Oh.
thought it would like switch back for Danny or something.
No. They don't do
It
that.
did
for you.
not. I got 0 points.
Oh, what's the difference in score for the three-way league? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know. Let me. I can check.
Get kicked.
Leagues. Let's see.
Last
Let's
I
see.
checked, I think I was just shy of 400 points clear at the top.
That's not holding.
You have like
Sorry.
300
Okay.
something. 360.
I think we're clear at the top.
Jakob, you're doing so bad. You are more than 1,000 points down on me.
Also, I just want to say at the start of the year when we said we were going to do a fantasy league, Jakob was talking up his game like crazy, saying he has hundreds of Excel sheets.
Not a touchdown.
He was saying he has hundreds of Excel sheets and ways to
Yeah, but, like-
compute it, and now he's going to make an excuse as to why he's not doing well.
No, there's no excuse. I just didn't pay attention. I had like too much going on after a point. So
an excuse, like I said.
not a touchdown
Here's
again,
the reality of the
baby.
situation. Max has scored the most points for anybody's fantasy F1 league, and Jakob made the agreement not to use Max, which is thousands of points he would have been missing out on. So, and Red Bull has scored the most points for the constructor pick, and he said he wouldn't use Red Bull, which again, thousands of points you're missing out on. So,
Yeah.
I think it was wrapped up from the moment he agreed to that. Your only saving grace is on the hope that Claire might usurp my lead at the top.
Which I don't know if it's going to happen. Budget cap thing is really.
I haven't changed my teams in 10 weeks of driving, so.
Oh, the Vikings just failed 2 QB sneaks.
I have to cut out every part of this.
Why? It's
No,
funny.
you can leave it in. It's entertainment.
Yeah, it
Leave it
is.
in. Leave it in.
Okay. If you guys stayed till the end, let me know what you guys thoughts
What you
are
think of
on-
Kirk Cousins?
Bro,
Sorry.
Kirk Cousins is trash.
Let me
Brock
know what your
Purdy's
Sorry.
thoughts are on the disqualifications for this weekend, and if you agree with Jakob that they should do all cars, or me that they should just keep it the same. until next time, Jakob's gonna do it since he hasn't been here in a while.
Oh shit! Not a touchdown. It's lights out and away we go.